Worker placement. There's so many board game mechanics, but is there more to them you haven't seen? This is part of a new series from Shelfside where we break down mechanics, trying to get to the root of why they're fun and popular, what are some interesting variations of them, and some possible pitfalls. Today, we have worker placement since 42 of the BGG top 200 games have worker placement featured somewhere. This is about a 20% relevance here, so it's certainly worth attention. Throughout this video, you'll likely find some new games you'll want to try, so we'll put some text on the bottom corners for each new game we introduce to the table. Speaking of tables, this is brought to you by our good friends at Game Theory Tables. The reason we decided to partner with GCT is not only for their gorgeous board game tables that make game night memorable, but like us, they want to bring the love of board gaming to as many people as possible. We personally met up with the GTT team, and if you use our link to get your own table, it directly supports our channel's ability to make content for you. The holidays are coming up and they have some great offers. Remember to use the code SHELFSIDE for a free layout. Now back to the video. Definitions. BGG defines worker placement as a stylized form of action drafting. Okay, let's put this in more human words. Worker placement is when players each have a set of workers, and throughout the game, they choose to place them in different actions on the board available to everyone. Usually you place them down one at a time, aka on your turn, you place a worker, you do the thing. There's a way to get them back, commonly at the end of the round, usually triggered when everyone has placed their workers. Then the recall happens for everyone, and bam, the board is clear for more placing. In some games, you'll have a way to manually recall your workers, and it's not surprising to see that spaces that were not placed on this round become more enticing for the next somehow. Test time. Is Scythe a worker placement game since you have a worker you're placing down? Nope, because you're not selecting from an action that everyone can do. It's just yours. Now there's some built-in interaction in worker placement because you're usually restricted in that you cannot go in the same space as someone else. Or there could be a certain priority to it all, like the ordering of going to a space or type of space matters. It's cheaper or faster. Here, we're literally resetting what other people can get. Sometimes you'll have to use a special ability to go in the same space as someone else. Here, you're flipping your once per round fireplace to go where someone else is. Wait, so going first really matters then, right? Yep, it's not surprising to see that going first starts you with less resources. And if anyone wants to be first player later on, it's an action, and you'll usually get some other slight benefit. Remember, worker placement is literally action drafting. If you're familiar with card drafting, you can think about it as passing around a bunch of cards amongst your group. On your turn, you'll take one and then pass a stack on. It diminishes as it goes around the table, and you get less choices for later turns. This being done in practice through the worker placement mechanic means there's a central board, letting everyone easily see the actions available, and you can do some sharing spaces or manipulating board thing easily. Now you can put other physical stuff next to spaces. But why? Worker placement is incredibly easy to teach. All you have to do is explain, you place, and get. Newcomers can easily grasp a decently big decision horizon, as usually all open spaces are open to you, you just have to look at what's empty. The thinking is usually like, you can pursue your primary way of getting points, or place somewhere else that is wildly efficient in resources and or gives instant points. Or you can try to invest something that might pay off big later. In some games, this investment is literally getting another worker. Now you see this spot in front of you? Looks good. Well, it's full now. This is a worker placement core interaction, where you're gonna see actions get swallowed up by opponents. Maybe I should have taken this space with my first worker. Seeing your opponents plop down their workers right in front of you gives you a good idea of what they're going for too. They really like blood money this game, so maybe I can block them by taking the space. Or I can pivot my strategy so I'm not clashing with their placements. For many, this can be that interactivity sweet spot. You're all communally racing over the best spaces, but it also doesn't feel like people are out to destroy you. There's frequently enough action spaces, so you're not completely screwed if you get blocked off. And if you lose one good action early game, it's not the end of the world. There's also plenty of worker placement progression. People are typically getting more workers throughout the game paired with an expanding board, making later rounds have more action possibility. Yep, you're given more time end game where you have a better idea of how to achieve your ultimate goals. The final plus is that a lot of worker placements tend to have lower amounts of luck, namely lower output randomness. The board is predictable in how it'll grow, and if you have a hand of cards, you're frequently not drawing more cards, and even if you happen to top deck something incredible, it's not going to make up for bad worker placement play. Wait, it's everywhere? Worker placement seems to be splashed in so many different themes, from farming to woodland critters to D&D. And that's because workers can pretty much be anything. But in the most abstract form, they can be dice, where they're rolled and then that starts dictating your actions. Yep, we can get into how worker placement starts acting a bit differently. suddenly when you're rolling dice, that number restricts you. These aren't your workers that will do anything you tell them to do anymore. But then you can start modifying the dice, that's more decision making. Okay, how about this? Having all these different colors of workers called mages that each have their own powers. This sharp worker distinction is so clear in The Godfather, where workers are either low-level gang members that go in the square hole and get one thing, or are more powerful family to go on the circles and get multiple things. Now, recall how we said worker placement rounds usually end when everyone is done placing their workers? The Godfather is like this, but you can delay when the round ends for you. See, you can complete a job instead of placing a worker as your turn, but do this too early in the round and people will take the spaces you want. But you also can't complete jobs after you've placed all your workers because, well, then you're out of the round, you can't do anything. Well, good thing this game did the untraditional thing of letting you kill other players' workers to make room for yours on the map. Another popular trend is mixing worker placement with deck building. These ones ask you that in order to place a worker, you must have that location listed on a card you play from hand. So then you need to deck build for cards to go on locations that fit your overall strategy. I guess I will be more Fremen leaning this game. And also, if you decide to get a third worker in these games, you gotta deal with the consequence of having less cards in hand at the end of a round, since these remaining cards go towards your deck building potential to make your deck better. Gosh, it's so all interlinked well. We can dial worker placement up to 11 with Star Wars Rebellion. Yes, it is far from farming with its Death Stars and AT-ATs, but you have leaders, which you assign to cards at the start of a round. Then when it's your turn, you place one of these leaders on a region to do something. It can do many things, like leading fleets into battle and accomplishing missions, but it's still placing a worker down on a space on a board available to everyone. Good work, Anakin. Bah, it's just another worker placement game though. Worker placement is such a core mechanic to games it's featured in, typically Euros, that if you mess up its implementation, you don't really have a game. So let's just get into two common complaints there are. One, it's too dry, and this has a lot of merit. Worker placement is incredibly splashable, so it can really be any theme, and in being that, you can have thematic dissonance as you go from caveman hunting for food during the day, then the vague agents in Dune Imperium. Who are these agents? Why do they come back to me every round? Why am I playing a card for them to do something? Are the cards who the agent is thematically? No, that wouldn't make sense sometimes. These are not people. This isn't the fault of worker placement, it's just implementation. How about critters being sent out to do seasonal work, then coming back to prepare for the next season? Or trying to survive inside a ruined house while a modern war happens around you, with named unique survivors with their own little quirks. You ask them to do household tasks during the day, and then send them out at night to scavenge. Or they can bring with them weapons or things to trade like cigarettes and coffee. Survivors need to get fed, which is a more common worker placement thing, but they can also get sick in this game, they can get sad, and they can die on you. Complaint 2, it's too uninteractive. Yeah, so getting resources from spaces tends to have players building themselves up in parallel to others, maybe giving a feeling of playing alongside your friends instead of playing with your friends. It's just not inherent to have workers attacking other workers. Yet, blocking off spaces can be incredibly interactive. Like how about blocking off someone's ability to buy that food generation they needed so their family starves for multiple rounds in a row? Yeah, maybe you'd prefer the less punishing Caverna for the farming shtick. So again, implementation does matter. And I would point out that players' board awareness can play a factor in how much they're willing to block each other. It is easy to tunnel in on just what you're only doing. And there's all other mechanics that can be integrated for more interaction. You can see round by round skirmishes with secret cards, doing drive-by of other workers, and sending in Darth Vader to annihilate that filthy rebel base. So yeah, that's all for this episode. Hopefully this gives you some inspiration or can clarify some things about worker placement, and let me know what mechanic or idea you want to see covered next. See you later. Cheers. That was worker placement. Really excited to get the series going for you guys, and again, thank you to our patrons for making videos like this possible. You guys are right here, all over here. Yeah, these videos take a lot of work and super excited to see all the mechanics we can cover in the future. Area control, social deduction, auctioning, you name it. We'll try to cover it. Anyways, we also got our Mad Lads cardboard right here. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Let me know what you want to see. Anyways, later.